Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today I want to talk about this Metabo HPT brushless 7 1/4 inch cordless compound slide miter saw, which I'm really excited about. This is a high-end saw. It's very precision. It's designed to make really good cuts, really fancy cuts. All your trim work, all your baseboards. For us, it's a PVC saw. This is going to be something that we cut a lot of our hard cuts on PVC. And I just want to go run over some of the features of it and how we're implementing it into our lineup. And then you guys can make your own decisions on what you think of it. So basically, right out of the box, a couple things that I really like that I've kind of missed on a couple other saws that I have. It has a laser and a light. They're both a button system. So I don't know if you can really see, you can kind of see it right here. When in darker modes or darker light, you can really see the laser well. When it's too dark or you're cutting in a darker space, you can just turn the light on and it'll stay on. This saw runs on one multi-volt battery. It's a 36 volt or an 18 volt depending on the tool you're using it with. But on this particular instance, it's going to be a 4 amp hour 36 volt battery, and it just attaches right here. Another cool feature about this saw, you can either use it with the cordless battery, or they make a corded adapter that you can actually put right on the saw, plug it into the wall. It runs either way. We've been running most of our chop saws, if they're cordless, we've been using the battery technology. We just have extra batteries, we keep them charged up. This saw will run almost all day on a full charge if we're using it a lot. If we're not using it a bunch, it'll last 2 to 3 days, no problem with just one battery. So, you know, if you had 1 or 2 extra for this, you'd be good in your cycling for charging and batteries and whatnot. Another cool feature about the Metabo HPT lineup, the batteries are less expensive than some of the other major brands. So it's just something to consider if you start implementing a new battery lineup into your arsenal of tools. It's one thing I considered was how much am I going to be investing in batteries versus the tools, and it just kind of came out to a little bit of a better financial bargain for me. So especially with the new multi-volt stuff, the batteries perform just as well as anything else on the market. All right, so basically this is a mini version of like a 12-inch compound slide miter saw. It has all the same features. It even has a 12-inch depth of cut, so you can take this thing and still cut a full 2x12 with it. Now, when you start cutting on angles and miters, obviously you're not going to get that, but I thought that was kind of cool that this little saw can still cut a 2x12. It has a dust catcher. Usually what we're going to do is put a chop shop style hood around it. We haven't set that up because the saw's brand new. Also, we implemented it into our cut hub system. So we have the chop saw sitting on a stand that is at the same elevation as these two platforms. It's in a direct line with our other chop saw so that lumber, if we have longer lengths, they don't get caught up on the back rails of the saw. We have it temporarily suspended right now because the thickness of this plate is only 2.5 inches and our other saw is 3.5 inches. So we put an inch spacer in here for now, and we will actually trace a plate out of a piece of 5/4, and we'll get this thing mounted proper in the future. But for today, it's looking good. So it has a dual ball bearing slide over here. So this is lockable, but you can slide the saw back and forth, and you can lock it in like this for transport, or if you just want to use it like just a straight chop, straight up and down saw, you can do that. I usually do not. I usually let this baby roll. That's just how I'm used to. It has about a 58-degree bevel this way, and what's kind of cool, instead of the indicator being on it like a traditional saw, it's over here. And over here, you can go to about a 45-degree angle. So 45 to the left, 63 to the right is what I'm seeing. This saw is really light as well. It only weighs 34 pounds. Ours weighs a little bit more because we have it on a cut hub plate, but 34 pounds is about half the weight of a standard 12-inch compound slide miter saw. It has a dual belt system, so it doesn't crank up as loud as other chop saws. So if you don't need a huge saw, this thing's easy to set up. We use it as an auxiliary saw. We're going to use this for all of our metal cutting because it only takes a 7 1/4 inch blade. I can go buy a high tooth 7 1/4 inch blade for half the cost of a 12-inch blade, or less than half cost of a 12-inch blade. It'll still make a really fine cut in our metal, and that's what you want when you're cutting aluminum hand railings and other things like that. So when you wind this thing up, that's as loud as it gets. The thing I like the best about this saw though is how accurate it is. And because the blades are so cheap, you know, obviously you're not going to be cutting 4x4s and 6x6s with it, but you know, all your standard 2x cuts, all your 5/4 cuts, all your 1x cuts, all that stuff can be easily made with this saw. A couple other cool features of the saw. There is a bevel and a miter. So there's also a dial on the back, a jog dial, so you can kind of dial in, you can leave this a little snug, it can really dial in your right and left cuts. But this one will loosen up and it auto locks on a 45 to the left. Well, if you want to bevel to the right, there's a pin on the back. It auto locks at 45 as well. You can see the pin right here. Okay, so you pull that out. When you want to go back to 0, you push the pin back in. Now you're locked at 0, and then auto left again to 45. And then there's a lever, a spring-loaded lever, that you can lock this into whatever 0, 10, 20, whatever degree you're cutting. If you're doing compound miters, you can go just like that. There's your 22.5. Auto locks at 22.5, at 30, and at 45. But for all your multiple compound miters, there's the front has a locking tab that if you don't want to catch on those auto locks, you just pull up on that, and then this twists to lock the saw in place at whatever angle you're trying to cut. All right, let's make a couple cuts with this baby. So I'm just cutting some pressure treated 2x6, pressure treated hemlock, incised 2x6, and it's just a piece of scrap we have just so I can show you guys how it cuts, all right? So we're just gonna start with a 90 cut and we'll go from there. Piece of cake. Okay, here's a 45, a miter, 45 miter. Here's a 45 bevel. Here's the cut on a 45 bevel. Pretty clean. All right, so now I'm gonna do a 45 compound miter. And there's your cut. So as you can see, this saw is gonna be super handy for us. Really looking forward to using it and getting it fully lined up in our rotation. If you have any questions, drop them below. And while you're at it, click that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Hit the bell icon if you want to be notified every time we're putting out fresh content. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.